Sanding out beveled hardwood floor is not an easy task. Maybe you're wondering, why sand the bevels out? The job consists of two areas that connect and have an older square-edged board profile, so the customer wanted the areas to blend or look the same. The darker gunstock colored areas are the beveled floors. By using the illustration with a dime, you get a better idea of how deep and wide the bevels are. Another issue to consider was the finish. We decided it was probably a standard Bruce pre-finished strip floor that didn't have any of the newer aluminum oxide type finishes. So the decision was made to start with a 36 grit paper on the drum sander. In starting, the finisher works the floor on a 45-degree angle. This is also an effective method of flattening out the area, as pre-finished hardwoods do have some vertical height differences from one board to the next. In this case, one pass is made with the drum sander, then he runs back over the same area again and repeats the process through the entire room. The next set of clips shows the aggressiveness of this first step with the 36 grit paper. While using the same sanding paper, it's now time to cut the floor again, this time with the direction of the grain at a much slower pace, which begins to remove the cross-grain scratches made by the 45-degree sanding earlier. It's time for a paper change on the drum sander with a new 36 grit. Some weight is added to the front of the sander, which causes it to become more aggressive, taking the bevels completely out on another straight and slow pass with the grain. The next illustration with the dime again shows the considerable difference the last pass made with the new paper and stepped up aggressiveness with the drum sander, showing all the bevels removed except along the wall lines where the edger comes into play on the next step. Also using a 36 grit on the edger, the finisher applies more than the usual pressure and succeeds in removing a great deal of the bevels along the wall lines. This is then followed a second time with the same grit to remove all the bevels. The finisher also hand scrapes and sands corners and other areas the edger can't reach. The next step calls for a finer 60 grit paper on the drum sander and edger, which works to remove the deeper 36 grit scratches made by the first set of sanding sequences. After trowel filling the entire floor, the final sanding steps are performed, which includes edging and drum sanding again. This is then followed up with the buffer and a 100 grit wire mesh screen to make the floors ready for a dark stain and a water-based finish application. So what does a procedure like this cost? Prices will vary everywhere, but a good ballpark number to go by is an additional $1 or $2 a square foot over and above a standard refinishing job. This does not include aluminum oxide type finishes on the existing floor. Rates may also be higher for stain jobs. If everything comes out right, you should see this.